The words and tears and love spilled out together, capturing our stories forever on these pages. By this time, I should have written about the one I love most of all, Johnny. I should have written about our wedding day, a day of dreams come true. Sadly, though, there has been no wedding. I'm sure that I loved Johnny from the moment I first met him, when I came to Kansas on an orphan train. I have always known that Johnny loved me. During the war, I kept up my spirits by reminding myself that as soon as Johnny returned from his service with the Union Army, we'd marry. But Johnny's 1-year internment in a Confederate prisoner of war camp took its toll on his health. Under the strong Kansas sunlight, his face has regained most of its color, and his cough no longer shakes his entire body. But the farm work he once did with strength and ease exhausts him, and the dark depths of his eyes seem to mirror horrors that haunt him like demons. Since I'm a woman, it would be unseemly of me to propose marriage, but I have hinted at it in many ways. Each time, Johnny's mouth tightens. He absolutely refuses to talk about marriage. Over and over I have asked myself, can't he see what a good wife I'd make? Doesn't he want to know the joys of raising a family together? It has been a week since I laid down my pen. Tears came to my eyes as I reread what I wrote about Johnny and the questions I asked myself. If I had known the answers, perhaps I would never have let my temper run away with me. Johnny and I wouldn't have had such a terrible argument on our way to town, and I wouldn't have plunged into a sudden course of action that changed my entire life. Chapter 2. Frances Mary Kelly rode on the front seat of the Mueller's wagon next to Johnny. Hot July air from the Kansas prairie, fragrant with the sharp scent of newly cut grasses and freshly turned earth, swirled around them. Plowed ridges lay to their right, grazing land to their left. In the distance, a snaking line of scrubby trees marked the presence of a stream, and close to the stream stood a house. The door opened and Frances caught a flash of blue. She knew the woman who wore the blue dress. Elvira Redding. "Elmer, come right this minute." The high and low notes in the woman's voice carried through the stillness, as did the voice of the child who answered, "Coming, Ma." Frances held a hand to her chest, pressing against a growing ache. That is what I want for Johnny and me, she thought. Marriage, a home, children. Why can't it be? She slid a little closer to Johnny on the wagon seat, glancing at his broad shoulders, at the way his sun-bleached hair curled under the snug leather band of his hat, and at his hands firm on the reins. Frances had met Johnny on the day the Cummingses had brought her to Kansas. The Mueller family, along with other near neighbors, had come to share the Cummingses' joy at having adopted 2 orphan-train children. That night, while she thought the other children were sleeping, all of them on pallets in front of the fireplace, Frances had given in to a desperate loneliness for her mother and brothers and sisters, and cried. Johnny had been awake and had heard her, but he hadn't teased. Keeping his voice low so as not to wake the others, he'd whispered, "Ma said you had to leave your other brothers and sisters. If I had to leave Matt and Carl and even old Froggy Fred over there, I'd cry too." Maybe, just maybe, Frances thought, she had begun to fall in love with Johnny's good humor and kindness and understanding at that moment. Aware of her gaze, Johnny looked down at Frances. Their eyes met. "I see that the Reddings have finished their new house," Frances said. "They've moved out of the soddy." Johnny looked back at the road without answering, but Frances plunged on. "Elvira worked on that house along with her husband. She could pound a nail and use a saw as well as Harry could. Elvira told me that—" "Harry didn't serve in the army," Johnny said. "He wasn't in a Confederate prison." "What has that got to do with—" "He wasn't injured. He wasn't starved. He's perfectly fit for a man's work, yet he chooses to accept a woman's help. It's not something I would do." Frances choked down the anger that rose in her throat and slid a little farther.